Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare
Hare Bhagavatam Hare Krishna. Those of you that want to stay cramped up, you can stay cramped up. Those that want a little bit of space can move forward because there's some. The table just moved a little bit. And having the Christmas tree doesn't help. But it's a nice Christmas tree. It's a Hare Krishna tree. You got to be in the front row. But you're in the front row, so you're in the good place, right? Okay. How old are you? 18? 6. I'm just teasing you. Okay. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschachade Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Now some of you are just joining us for the first time, and this is class number 8. So you're going to have to go back and hear the recordings or something like that. And last but not least, the Pandavas. Now, many of the things that needed to be said about the Pandavas have been already said. Some of what I'm going to say this evening is a repetition of what you heard before because it just sets the scene of the Pandavas, including their father, Pandu, from whom they've got their name, the Pandavas. How do they get the name Pandavas anyways? Here's how they got their name. Besides, they're the sons of Pandu, so they're the Pandavas. But Duryodhana wanted to distinguish, although they're Kauravas, they're not Kauravas because he gave this other name, the Pandavas. It was politics. But it was okay, because they're Pandavas also. But, the us and them consciousness. I hear one of those machines chanting Hare Krishna. Do you have one of those machines that's chanting Hare Krishna? But the sound is coming from over there, not from over here. Well done, well done. Ventriloquist something. If there was to be a competition, who is the dearmost associate of Krishna, the dearmost devotee of the Supreme Lord, the Pandavas would have to be in running. You could say other names. You could say the gopis. The gopis would say Govardhan Hill. And some places in scripture it says Lord Shiva. Some places we would say Prahlad. In some places we would say the Pandavas. Here's Narada Muni speaking about the good fortune of the Pandavas and why. My dear Maharaj Yudhisthira, this is from 7th Canto. You Pandavas are extremely fortunate, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, lives in your palace, just like a human being. Great saintly persons know this very well, and therefore they constantly visit this house. Don't think they're visiting you. They're visiting Krishna, but because Krishna is in your house, they're visiting you. So they're inseparable, visiting the Pandavas and visiting Krishna. Here's part of Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purport. Although the Pandavas, because of the influence of Krishna's Yogamaya, could not think of their fortunate position, every saintly person, including the great sage Narada, could understand it, and therefore they constantly visited Maharaj Yudhisthira. Any pure devotee who is constantly conscious of Krishna is naturally very fortunate. The word nri, loke, that's the verse in the phrase in the verse, meaning within the material world, indicates that before the Pandavas, there had been many, many devotees, such as the descendants of Yadu and Vashishta, Marichi, Kashyapa, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva, who were all extremely fortunate. The Pandavas, however, were better, there it is, than all of them. Why? Because Krishna himself lived with them constantly. Narada Muni therefore specifically mentioned that within the material world, we happen to be in the material world, I think. Real okay. Hi, Paul. We're the most fortunate. As you know, there's a whole part 1 of Brihat Bhagavatamrita. You know what Brihat Bhagavatamrita is? Our 6-year-old. Do you know what Brihat Bhagavatamrita? You know what it is? You have an idea. You heard of it. So it's a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami. It's very nice. I mean, it's very, very elevated. He not only wrote the book, he wrote the commentary on the book also. It's his commentary on his book. Phew. So it's a very important book. And there's 2 parts. In part 1 is there are many sages, including Narada, who are at a very sacred place, engaging in sacrifice and taking sacred bath and this and that, and they begin to contemplate who is the greatest recipient of, we're receiving so much of the Lord's mercy. Who's the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy? They turn to Narada. Can you find out the answer to that question and tell us what your findings are? Sure. Some service to all the sadhus and Vaishnavas. So he goes to this one, that one, and the other one, and the other one. So each one he goes to, he's referred to by someone that says they're the greatest. And he sees them, you see, they're the greatest. And he says, you're the greatest. And he said, no. Here's my disqualification, this and that and the other thing and the other thing. But if you want to know who is the greatest recipient, go to such and such devotee. So, and then there's their glories, there's glories, their glories. So he goes to that devotee and he sees it's true. There's this glory, that glory, and he's, Haribol. He's, no. And guess who the greatest recipients of the Lord's mercy are? The Pandavas? Well, that's what Narada Muni says. And he was the one who went on this, quest to find out who's the greatest. But it ends up, it's the residents of Vrindavan, and in the residents of Vrindavan, the greatest recipients are the gopis. You have a favorite gopi? I bet you do. Her name starts with an R. Okay. Greatest recipient of the mercy of Krishna. She's his mercy personified in full. So, to discuss about the Pandavas, we're going to start with discussing about Pandu and a particular, the way that this is subtitled, a life-changing event that happened in the Himalayas. But before we get to the Himalayas, let's find out about Pandu. King Vichitavirya, we heard a little bit about Grandfather Bhishma making this arrangement for his younger brother Vichitavirya to become married to Ambika and Ambalika. But because he was this is from Srimad Bhagavatam verse, too much attached to these two wives, he had a heart attack and died of tuberculosis. Now, I don't know what the Sanskrit word is for tuberculosis, but they knew about it because that's Prabhupada translated it. 9th Canto, chapter 22. So he died young, Vichitavirya. So there was a necessity to have a successor to the throne. So one verse later, Vyasadeva, following the order of his mother, we heard about Vyasadeva, right? What do you remember about Vyasadeva? There's something specific. When he was born, he was a full adult stature. That's unusual. And he said to his mother, who was Satyavati, I'm leaving now. I'm going to go do austerities, but if you ever need me, just call my name, and I'll come immediately. So he came immediately, and his mother, Satyavati, who was the mother of Vichitavirya, who was the king but died. So she wanted these two queens. There's a Vedic principle. The queens or the wives, a wife, may conceive a child if the husband is no longer alive with another family member. So that was Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva, by the order of his mother or request of his mother, he begot 3 sons. 2 by Ambika and Ambalika, and the third was the maidservant of the first, Ambika. 3 children. So that's one verse with 3 children. So here's a little kind of cartoon. When Vyasadeva entered the room, so Ambika, the first, was told to a Satyavati, my son, and she was thinking her son means Bhishma. Everybody knows Bhishma is her son. And when he entered the room, it wasn't Bhishma. It was this ascetic. And the way that the Mahabharata describes, he happened to have been called when he was in the midst of austerities. So his body looked very disheveled. It was not clean. It smelled not nice. And here he comes, because he's like just fresh from austerities in the forest. She was shocked, as they say, freaked out. She closed her eyes. And therefore, when the child was conceived, he was blind. Second, that was Ambika. Then Ambalika, when she saw Vyasadeva coming into her room, she paled, and therefore the child was pale when it was born. Pandu means the pale one, in case you want to know what Pandu means, the pale one. And then, just for safety's sake, Satyavati requested Ambika second time around. She did a switcheroo. She wasn't in the room. It was her maidservant. And when the maidservant appeared before Vyasadeva, she was not freaked out, and she wasn't closing her eyes and becoming pale. So she became the mother of Vidura, right? Vidura. You sure? Okay, good. Vidura. So now there's 3 children. Vyasadeva's the father. We've seen these family lines many times. Ambika, Ambalika, and the maidservant of Ambika. Although Dhritarashtra was the eldest, he couldn't become king because he's blind. And Vidura couldn't become king because he was born as a servant girl. And so that left the middle son, Pandu, the pale one. But he was a worthy monarch in every way. When he came of age, he became the king. Now, here's a very powerful looking painting. Not painting, one of those AI sketches. Look at this fellow. Pandu was a worthy monarch in every way. When he came of age, he was installed on the throne. There's Pandu, the father of the Pandavas. So now, these 3 sons had to have wives. So in the absence of the father, the elder brother took the arrangement. And the arrangement was that Dhritarashtra was betrothed to and then married the daughter of King Kandahar, who became Gandhari. And when she came to know that her husband was blind, from that very day, she covered her eyes, except for one occasion. You all know the one occasion. The second, we saw Kunti giving the garland, to Bhishma, to Pandu. So here's another nice artistic depiction of there's beautiful young Kunti, the daughter of Kunti Bhoja, or adopted daughter. And then this service, we heard this already with Queen Kunti. She was given the service at Kunti Bhoja's palace to look after guests. And when she looked after Durvasa Muni, he was so pleased with her affection and diligent service and her whole everything. He knew that she would have difficulty having children. He knew her future. And so he gave her this benediction. Whoever she invoked, she could have a son with that person who she invoked, the demigod. So we heard all this. This is just because it's an essential part of understanding the Pandavas, because our topic is the Pandavas. So something happened. Pandu became the king, and Pandu particularly liked being in the forest. So he went to the forest, and one of the things he did, when in the forest one day, he was hunting, and he shot a male deer when the deer was having union with the female deer. And the deer fell down and spoke in a dying voice. Deers don't usually speak, but this was a sage that had assumed the form of a deer. Oh, how shameful. Even degraded men who are slaves to their senses never act so cruelly. How then have you, the king, and a descendant of the noble Bharata race, acted so in conflict with Vedic ordinance? And the king, Pandu, said, as a king, it's my duty to hunt. Thus I control the forest, making it safe for the rishis. There's other things too. At the same time, I'm able to practice the kingly art of weaponry, so he can protect innocent citizens. Furthermore, even the great sages in the past have killed deer in the forest by offering them in sacrifice. Oh, deer, he's speaking to the deer, but the deer then manifests as a sage. Why do you reprove me? And the deer then manifested his form as a rishi named Kindama. No creature should be attacked at the moment of intercourse. Your act was extremely cruel and sinful and is liable to lead you to hell. It is especially reproachful as you are a king and are meant to chastise the wicked and protect the tenets of Dharma. So there's the sage speaking to the king, and he then says, you need not fear the sin of killing a Brahmin, as you did not know my true identity, but as you killed me when I was indulging in pleasure, so too shall you meet your death at such a time. And the sage passed away. And just before he passed away, this curse that came to Pandu. So Pandu then accepted, this was my wrongdoing, I accept the curse, and he made this, we heard already. He said to Queen Kunti and to Madri, his co-wife, I'm going to live a life of asceticism. You go back to Hastinapur and be safe. And they said, no, no, no. Let us together accept the order of Vanaprastha, retirement in the forest. We shall be happy practicing asceticism with you. And they were so serious and sincere and devoted to their husband and the king, he accepted. So it's just the three of them and a life of asceticism living in the forest. And he decided, there's a nice series of maps that shows the path they took. This is Mahabharata chapter 26. And we're going to see it a little bit again, 25 and 26. So this map, it shows the path they took. See, it starts down at the bottom. Hastinapur. And then they went north, and they went north, and they went further north, all the way to the foothills of the Himalayas. And we see a bunch of names up there. And one of those names is Nagasala. And over to the right, Shatasringa. So we'll start with the Shatasringa. He journeyed to Lake Indradumna. You see that lake? You can see it? Yes? In the front row, you can see it. You in the back row, pretend that you see it. It's that blue blotch that's there. That's Lake Indradumna. And then he crossed the Hansa Kuta Mountains. I'll get this laser pointer so you can see where these things are. This is the Hansa Kuta Mountains. Hansa Kuta. Where are they? They're up here. They're up here. Hansa Kuta. There's Lake Indradumna. There's the Hansa Kuta Mountains. So it hasn't gotten to the big mountains, but it's in the Himalayas. And then they arrived at a range of 100 peaks, Shatasringa. That's this, the range of 100 peaks where he performed tapasya. So that's a place that he stayed for quite some time. There's Shatasringa, right there it is, right there. And Pandu went to the mountain range called Nagasata. There's the Nagasata. See the yellow arrow? Nagasata. Then, eating roots and fruits, they crossed the Chaitrarata Mountains. That's this purple arrow. So they started here, then they went here, and it's all part of a large mountain range with 100 peaks. Then Kalakuta. That's Kalakuta's down here. So they went like this. Kalakuta. And they finally arrived at the Gandhamadana mountain. And Gandhamadana mountain doesn't show on the map here. But it's said to be a very fragrant place. That's why it's given the name Gandha Madana mountain. Celebrated place. So they're living in this way. We heard already from Kunti's the day that we spoke about Kunti. And he, the king, was doing yajna for their ancestors, Shraddha ceremony again and again and again. And he began thinking, there's no ancestor, there's no descendant. And I have this curse that I can't have children. So he requested Kunti and Madri, please accept bearing children for me from some other father than me. And then so Kunti spilled the beans. She said this benediction that she had received from Durvasa Muni. She didn't say that she had already called the sun god. She didn't tell him. She didn't disclose it. She kept it secret. But one by one. So kings were born. So the first Dharma, and Yudhishthira was born. So there's a nice illustration of Yudhishthira. A voice from the sky, this child will be called Yudhishthira, and he'll be very virtuous, splendid, determined, renounced, and famous throughout the three worlds. What are they going to say when Bhima is born? Foremost of all, strong man. Who is he the son of? Vayu. As soon as the third son was born, the same celestial voice boomed through the sky. Oh, Kunti, this child would be as strong as Kartavirya and Shibi. We heard all this, right? For some of you that were with us, you heard it. But it's no problem hearing it again. And as invincible in battle as Indra himself, because he's the son of Indra, he will spread your fame everywhere and acquire many divine weapons. At the time of his birth, it was announced. So we're going to hear shortly about how that came true. Then two other sons, Madri gave birth to these two, Nalakula and Sahadev. And they were also very powerful. And misfortune came. Misfortune came when, overcome by lusty desire, he approached Madri. She tried to warn him. He was a very powerful person, and he didn't listen to her words, and he instantly died trying to unite with Madri. So the place where he died, we'll see shortly, it gives a description. And a proper funeral was performed. And it was the period of mourning and grief. Now here's two descriptions where this happened. Mahabharata says the same area that we heard about, the Shatashringa Mountains and the bank of the Indradumna Lake. To the east of Haridwar is where Pandu left his body, north and east. However, Madhvacharya often says something different than what everybody else says. And he said in his commentary on Mahabharata that he stayed at Narayana Ashram in Badrinath. And so this is where he left his body. So then the description, so when he died, this is the approximate age of each of the children. Yudhishthira, 16 and a half. Bhima, 1 year younger. Arjuna, 1 year younger. And Kunti and the Pandavas reached Hastinapur from the forest in 16 days by foot. It was speed rail. They somehow made it quickly. What the description is, by some mystical power, they quickly reached back to Hastinapur. That's what the rishis advised them. Don't stay here in the forest unprotected. You have young boys, go back to Hastinapur. So we heard all this. Those of you that are with us before. And when they came back, everyone was really happy. Yay, except for Duryodhana. And so there was controversy and controversy and controversy. And then it built up and it built up and it built up. So this is a description from chapter 26, prior to the war. Prior to the war, the Pandavas travel to Badri Ashram or Badrinath or Badrika. And here was the circumstance. From chapter 25, the war was brewing, and Arjuna, with the permission of his mother and with the permission of his elder brother, he left for the celestial region to obtain celestial weapons, because it was prophesied from his birth that he would receive them. So he went. And when he went, he did great austerities. This is the favorite one, holding your arms over your head and standing on your toes. Not just Hiranyakashipu did that, but others did. Atri, who had 3 sons with Anasuya, that's the austerity that he did, etc., etc. Sikandi did the same, under Amba did the same austerity, so it's a popular one. And he was very austere. He's not, he's a Kshatriya, but he was also very austere. And being pleased with his austerities, Lord Shiva granted him, he knew what he wanted, so he granted him his own Pashupata weapon. Similarly, Yamaraj, his weapon, a celestial mace. The celestial mace was used for what? For smashing people, but also bringing death. The Lord of Death gave his own mace. Varuna gave his inescapable Naga Pasa nooses, which all of these were used during the battle itself. And Kuvera gave him a weapon, a certain weapon, Antar Dana, that could baffle and render unconscious even mighty asuras. All of this is described as others gave weapons, and so he's loaded up with weapons. While he's off getting weapons, something happened back in where they were doing their austerities. Loma Sharishi, a celestial sage, came to where they were doing their austerities, Kamyaka, and he volunteered, if you'd like, I can take you on pilgrimage. We'll go to holy places. We have a yatra and go to Vrindavan and Mayapur and Jagannath Puri and all nice places. So they thought that was very nice. And the first place they went was north, to the Himalayas. So here's one of these nice drawings. There's Draupadi. She went along with them. And then the 4 other brothers, while Arjuna's off in Swarga. And when they headed, so I'm going to narrate something that we haven't spoken about. It's not like this, the topic is the Pandavas, but we don't hear so much about Bhishma. There's some things about Bhishma, his fighting with Jarasandha and other things. But this is something that's very nice. So I've decided to leave it in because I wanted to speak something about the Pandavas. So they're in the northern region, and one of the tributaries of the Ganges is the Alaknanda. And Draupadi happened to see this 1,000-petaled lotus flower. Now most lotus flowers have petals, but there are 1,000 petals. So it's a celestial flower coming from the celestial region, coming downstream from the tributary of the Ganges, Alaknanda. And she picked up the lotus, being very, very attracted to it, and immediately thought it'd be nice to give this lotus to Yudhishthira. And because there's no rivalry and envy amongst the brothers, she called Bhima, and Bhima was appreciating the beauty of the flower, and she indicated she wanted to give it to Yudhishthira and asked if wherever this came from, could you get a few more? That's all Bhima needed, some service for Draupadi, Gitai. So he is the son of Vayu, and he could move really fast. And he moved really fast. He grabbed his clubs and charged up the hill where no mortals, he's heading for the celestial realm. where no mortals are permitted. But he didn't mind. He bellowed as he was charging, and elephants and lions were frightened, hearing the bellowing of Grandfather Bhishma as he pushed the trees aside. Powerful. Bhima, look out, here I come, looking for some lotus flowers. And sure enough, as he was traveling along the path up the steep mountain, there was a huge monkey lying across the path. So this shows the monkey is a little smaller. This shows the monkey is a little bigger. And Bhima says to the monkey, the monkey says to Bhima, "Young man, why do you make so much noise? Most of the animals in this region were sleeping peacefully, and now you've awakened them. Please be more considerate." So Bhima's confused. I never heard a monkey talk like this before. "Who are you? May I know who you are? What monkey speaks like a human being? You must be some demigod in disguise." As for myself, he introduces himself. "I'm the son of Vayu, and my mother is the chaste Kunti. My name is Bhima. I'm one of the Pandavas." So he's already asked him who he is. And the monkey, they see little Bhima down there. On being asked to move, the monkey replied, "I've grown too old to move, and most of the time I simply lie here. If you insist on going further, then you can do so by leaping over my body." Bhima didn't like that answer. He refused to leap over Hanuman because super soul resides in everyone's heart. We don't step over bodies. You know that. That's like an etiquette. We don't step over. I have grown in hearing. So what happened here? There's super soul disappeared. There we go. So Bhima said, "If I had not known that the Supreme Lord exists in everyone's heart, then I would have leaped over your body in this mountain, as the great Hanuman did when he crossed the sea to Lanka." And the monkey said, "Who is this Hanuman who bounded over the ocean? You speak of him with respect. His name comes with affection from your mouth. Have you met him before? Can you relate something about him?" He's playing. Bhima said, "You're a monkey and you don't know who Hanuman is?" "He is the greatest of all monkeys. He is also the son of the wind god Vayu and is therefore my esteemed brother. He is famed for his devotion to Lord Ramachandra." So the monkey smiled and saw powerful Bhima was a little impatient. This is a very different size than all these drawings. Bhima's really big and the monkey looks pretty tiny. "Please do not be angry with me. I tell you the truth when I say that I'm too old to move from this spot. If my tail obstructs your path, then just move it aside and go on your way." So this is much better painting. There's Bhima with all of his power of 10,000 elephants trying to lift the tail. With all of his strength, the tail wouldn't move. So he tried again and tried again and tried again. The tail wouldn't move. When the tail wouldn't move with repeated attempts, "Who are you anyways?" Now this is showing the little monkey. And the big monkey said, "Please forgive my harsh words. Out of ignorance, I transgressed the conduct of good behavior towards elders. Your power is greater than mine. You can't move your tail." He tried and unsuccessfully tried. So here's some architecture showing the same. This shows the little monkey, but it's a big monkey. The monkey smiled at him and said, "I will gladly tell you I am. I and the son of the wind god, Hanuman. With these words, they tightly embraced each other, and tears of joy came from their eyes. So this is a nice section of Mahabharata. And guess who really liked this section of Mahabharata? You guessed it, Madhvacharya. Because he's also a son of Vayu. That's what this painting is illustrating. On one side, Hanuman, the other side, Bhima, and they met. The monkey smiled at him and said, I will gladly oh, I already read that. Okay, so that's just adding another picture. So, Madhvacharya, he also had powers very strong. And he could leap long distances. You know the story. We narrated the story. I'll narrate the story again because it's a nice story. There's a biography about the life of Madhvacharya and his physical strength, his ability to leap large distances. When he went, he had made a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra, and he wanted to have everything verified by Vyasadeva. They were in the Himalayas, he and his associates and devotees. So he told the primary devotee, you tell them all to stay here, I'll be back shortly. So he told them, but he couldn't leave Madhvacharya's aside, so he tried to follow him. But he moved too swiftly, like giant. He lost track of him because he was going into the upper Uttar Badri, beyond where we can go, and that's really high, but into the higher dimensional space, as Sadhuputta calls it, and there he met Vyasadeva. He had powers. Madhvacharya had powers. And Bhima had powers. And his Hanuman has powers. You know, extraordinary power, son of Vayu. So, I was thinking, what are other topics about the Pandavas should we speak about? But I kind of ran out of time, so I decided I would do this. Before their departure, Hanuman bestowed a boon on Bhima. Staying on the victory flag of Arjuna, I will shout out fiercely in such a way that it will make the enemies almost lifeless, and thus it will be easy for him to kill them. So you may have noticed, but now you'll notice, and whenever you see paintings of Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot, look at the flag, and on the flag is Hanuman. In Madhvacharya's commentary on Mahabharata, he writes, Krishna didn't really speak to Arjuna, Krishna spoke to Hanuman. Madhvacharya is a little partial. It's okay. Hanuman's the best of the devotees. The Pandavas, obviously, in the first Canto Bhagavatam, our topic was the pure devotees described in the first Canto Bhagavatam. So I've made an attempt to give some information about 7 of those great personalities. We spent 2 days on Grandfather Bhishma, could be spending more on most of them. But I thought I would make this evening a little shorter than the other evenings, because you all like to have questions and answers, and sometimes, that's like stump the Swami kind of questions. So I had to do some research the next day. I did some research the next day. But one of the questions that came up was, where did Pandu go after his demise? So one answer was, the document was circulated already. I did some further research after that document was circulated. So in in a section of Mahabharata, Yudhisthira asked that question of Narada Muni. Where did all the predecessors go after they left this world? Which heaven, and who went to the highest heaven? And that was kind of the question is asked. And the answer is given specifically about Pandu, that he went to the heavenly abode of Yamaraj. Apparently Yamaraj has more than one place. And that's okay. They can have more than one place. Modern people have more than one place, so why not Yamaraj? A heavenly, and then a place where he does the business of making decisions about people's future because of their sinful activities. And then towards the very end, the section in Krishna Dharma's book, The Pandavas Retire Timely, which is the same title as the chapter in the Bhagavatam, that Pandavas retire timely. They went to the heavenly realm, one by one, and Draupadi and etc., where they went, the heavenly realm. However, this document that you probably have already looked at, in the Bhagavatam is very clear. They went to Vaikuntha. Not heaven, they went to Vaikuntha. Because Bhagavatam makes that distinction. So then I asked some learned Prabhus, and only one of them answered. And the learned Prabhus said, or replied, in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, you remember what it is, right? This little 6-year-old girl. You remember what Brihat Bhagavatamrita is? We spoke about it. It's a commentary by Sanatana Goswami on Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, do you remember? Kind of. You're not being as attentive this evening as you normally are. You're normally like, you're a little distracted tonight. Brihad Bhagavatamrita is a commentary by Sanatana Goswami on Srimad Bhagavatam. He loved Srimad Bhagavatam. He loved Bhagavatam very much. Very much. So he wrote multiple commentaries on the Bhagavatam, but one of them was Brihat Bhagavatamrita. And in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Part 2, Gopakumar meets Narada Muni in Vaikuntha, because Narada Muni can go anywhere. One of the places he can go is Vaikuntha, and they met up in Vaikuntha. And Narada Muni explains, so this is Part 2, Chapter 5, starting, you can look it up later, starting verses 51 to 55. So 3, 5, 55. 51 to 55. There's an explanation by Narada that why you may have been wondering, Gopakumar, why you see me here, why you see me there, why you see me some other place. So how is it possible I can be in multiple places? The answer is given in verses, and then Sanatana Goswami's commentary on his own commentary. As the Supreme Lord can expand himself in multiple ways simultaneously, his pure devotees, like Narada himself, and others, like the Pandavas, and others, that names are given, they can expand themselves, simultaneously be in this place and in that place. Now, it's not that one jiva becomes like a half a jiva or a split jiva or something like that. It's the pure devotees are invested with powers that ordinary living entities are not invested with. It's not just a shadow of the original. It's equal to the original, as the Ishopanishad verse, Om Purnamadak Purnamidam. So that verse isn't cited in these commentaries, but that's the principle. So it's possible, but there's nothing definitive. Is it possible? It's possible, because because pure devotees like Narada and like Uddhava, and he mentions some other names, and the Pandavas and Yudhisthira are specifically are mentioned. They can have multiple expansions. That doesn't say for sure whether Pandu had such a power. Doesn't even say for sure. My sense has always been that Mahabharata is emphasizing Dharma. Bhagavatam is emphasizing transcendence, Shuddha Bhakti. So the Shuddha Bhaktas don't go to heaven. Shuddha Bhaktas go to the spiritual world. And those who are followers of Dharma, where do followers of Dharma go? They go to heaven. So they're characterized, of course they're pure devotees, but they're characterized as followers of Dharma. Dharma Raj, the father of Yudhisthira, and Yudhisthira giving, they're virtuous. So virtuous people go to heaven. And that's the emphasis. It's not de-emphasis on bhakti, but it's a very strong emphasis in Mahabharata, on performance of duties for the Supreme Lord according to Dharma. Anyway, different destinations from two different literatures about the same people, the Pandavas. That's the detail. And I'm to put a ribbon and bow on it and smile. It's just the emphasis is different, and therefore the destinations are depicted as different. And ultimately, Srimad Bhagavatam is the Supreme Court. It's the highest authority. And so that's it. Doesn't mean the others are wrong. It just means that's the Supreme Court. That's the Amala Pramana. And so we take evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam and see others in alignment with that ultimate source. But the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court. There's no appeal. That's it. The Pandavas went back to Godhead. They returned to their eternal position in service to the personality of Godhead. So let's see if there's some discussion. I left time for discussion.
Maharaj, there is a letter that Prabhupada wrote in 1968.
I'm listening.
Can I read?
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
So he's writing to Saradhiya, a devotee. I'll just read the excerpts. I won't read the whole thing. To answer your second question, you should know that Arjuna and Kunti Devi are not in Krishna Loka.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
They are eternally associated with Krishna only in the material world. Just like Krishna is always in spiritual world, so similarly he is always in the material world, and his pastimes are going on there also. In the material world, Krishna also has eternal associates such as Arjuna and Kunti Devi. There is a difference between the body and soul of Arjuna and Kunti Devi. But although Arjuna is with Krishna in innumerable different material universes at one time, still there is only one spirit soul who is Arjuna.
That's right.
This spirit soul expands into many different bodies, and thus you can understand that there are also incarnations of devotees as well as incarnations of Krishna. This is the power of spirit soul that is unlimited. Such conception cannot be understood while one is still in condition state.
Okay. Did you read that PDF that was circulated? Could you pull it up? You circulated it. Just pull up the little section that's from a description of after they left this world. They followed Krishna. Not one of those kinds of things. It's a little bit, the reconciling of these two statements is from Sanatana Goswami. And this little girl, she remembers what Sanatana Goswami says. What did Sanatana Goswami say? As Krishna can simultaneously manifest in different places at the same time, so according to Narada, teaching Gopakumar, why you see me in different places as if you've been traveling around, the creation, is because we, personalities, can manifest ourselves in multiple places at the same time. Did you find it? It's toward the end, very, very end. And read the verse number from the Bhagavatam.
One 1.15.47 to 48. Would you want me to read the...
No, the end. The very, very end that says where the Pandavas went.
Right.
Okay.
Would you want me to
yes,
read the...
please read. Just the translation. If you can't find it, I've got it.
I'm just trying to increase the font.
Okay. Magic phone.
Thus by pure consciousness, due to constant devotional remembrance, they attained the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by the Supreme Narayana, Lord Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the Supreme Lord without deviation. The abode of the Lord Shri Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, cannot be attained by persons who are absorbed in the material conception of life. But the Pandavas, being completely washed of all material contamination, attained that abode in their very same body. Then, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.50. Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. Last one, 51. The subject of the departure of the sons of Pandu for the ultimate goal of life back to Godhead is fully auspicious and perfectly pure.
So simultaneously expanded. That's Sanatana Goswami's resolution of this. Go ahead. But in Ryan, you want to say something? Give him the microphone.
Thank you, Maharaj. This question was asked to one of our acharyas as well. The answer that they gave is that first they went to heaven and from there they descended to Vaikuntha.
Okay.
So Bhagavatam kind of tells the later part. Mahabharata just ends with the
preliminary part. Makes sense. And they can be expanded in both places at the same time as well, according to Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Anyone else? Yes. That was quick. Over here.
Thank you, Gurudev, for such a wonderful lecture. So I have two questions.
Two?
Yeah, I mean, one from yesterday's, if I'm allowed to ask.
You're certainly allowed to ask.
Thank you, Gurudev.
You have such a nice smile, you could ask anything you want.
So my first question is, there are two potent personalities in Mahabharata, Queen Kunti and Satyavati. So they both are in the same situation where they give birth to the baby before marriage. But Kunti, because of the society's pressure, she abandoned her child. And because she didn't want it to, people making, commenting on her. But Satyavati, in that same place, she bought her son and want to show it to the world that, Vyasdev is my son. So how in the same era, in the same society, how two powerful women acts differently?
Why not?
One is ashamed of her thing, and other is proud, she wants to so how can we differentiate that?
Oh, there's variety in the world. Or two people are not alike. You want everyone to be alike? How boring.
But the society rules are for everyone at this.
Okay. And Kunti broke the rule. And she paid for it. Right?
Yeah.
It was a rule and she broke the rule.
But Satyavati also did the same thing, right?
No. She didn't go broadcast, hey, I had a son, his name is Vyasadeva, the son of Parashara Muni. She didn't broadcast it. He got up and left. and said, Haribol, see you later. Call me when you need me. She didn't broadcast it. She didn't broadcast it. She told her father, and her father believed her because he didn't see her son, but he noticed a difference in her fragrance. So something happened. And she said what happened. So he trusted, the father, the fisherman, trusted. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Gurudev.
Second question.
Yeah, second was related to Bhishma Dev. So when I read Mahabharata, I always find one.
Slower.
I
You
just
always-
get nervous.
Okay, it's
when
okay.
asking questions.
You have a nice smile. We just go slowly.
So what happened? So the thing is, I always find Mahabharata. It's a consequence of one action leading to the other action.
Oh, it happens. Life, right?
So in like when we see Bhishma Dev, he was so learned, virtuous, great warrior. When he was taking the vow, why didn't he understood or why didn't he realize that because of this there may be a bad consequences?
That's okay. He was ready to take the bad consequence because he abides by virtue, whatever the consequence is. That's Bhishma. He didn't mind consequence. He abide by virtue. And he was sacrificing for his father. And there's consequences. And he accepted it. You know, that was because that was him. He was just abide by virtue. That's it. And respect my father. I mean, he didn't even know who his father was for 32 years. But he's completely attached to his father. And, you know, it's as Ramchandra was, it's Dharma. He's a virtuous personality. No problem with consequences.
Thank you, Gurudev.
That's just, you know, read this section of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, karma, akarma, and vikarma. It's like, you understand that, you're fine. And so he was just in the akarma platform. Whatever the consequences are, there's no karma. It's interaction with the personality of Godhead, not karma. Consequences. That's a nice consequence. Well, you're smiling again. You look worried for a while, but you're much better.
Thank you.
Okay. Then all the way in the back, all the way in the back, all the way in the back. And then we're going to come forward again.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for the beautiful, sweet lecture. So my question today is there any significance that Gandhari, despite of knowing that the person whom she is going to get married was blind, but still actually she wanted to get married to him and she wanted to voluntarily blindfold herself throughout her life. So is there any significance behind her sacrifice? Is there any
She's just your question is similar to the prior question. She had a virtue that she lived by. It's not like, I want to marry a blind man. That wasn't what was going on. It was a request from her father. Her father accepted, and she is following her father. So following her father means I'm marrying a blind man, and I can't be above my husband. So if he's blind, then I'm going to be blind. But I'm not going to poke my eyes out or just wear a blindfold. So it's just her dharma. She's totally dharmic, but at the same time, she's taking on qualities like her husband. Her husband wanted to become the king. She wanted her son to be the son of Dhritarashtra that would be born first. And when when Kunti's son was born first, she pounded her abdomen, and 100 sons came out. So she's not a pure devotee, but she's virtuous. She did what she did because of virtue. And she did other things because of attachment. And some people live by virtue. Some people don't care about it. Some people, if it's convenient. There are differences of different types of people in this world. Okay, pass the microphone up. And our princess in the front row, she's got her next question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. I have a question. Who are the Pandavas in the spiritual world?
Who were the Pandavas in the spiritual world? This question came up. Who were they in their previous life? That's a better question. And the answer that I was able to discern after significant research is there's no definitive answer to that question. If somebody in the room knows or comes across a definitive answer to that question, please let me know. But the research that I did it's unknown. What's your second question? That's it? Okay. Microphone over here.
So Maharaj, I did some research last night. What I read is all the 5 Pandavas were 5 Indras, 5 different Indras in prior Kala. So
What Drupad was given a vision by Vyasadeva. Is this what you're referring to? There's a reference. When can my daughter Draupadi marry 5 men? But it's in that section. But you can go to Mahabharata and read the section. He, in a private place, gave a vision that they were previous Indras. But exactly what that means is not clear. But they previously were Indras, and how can you have 5 Indras? Because there's not 5 Indras. So it's not clear. But they're celestial beings. So celestial beings of some kind, somehow. And when Drupad saw what he saw and heard what he heard from Vyas, he said, "I surrender. No one has powers like you, and you can transfer those powers if you so desire. I'm convinced my daughter can marry the five men, no problem." There were other things that he said.
Maharaj, the only answer I was convinced myself is what you said, Dharma rakshati rakshitaha.
Yeah.
Because Pandavas followed Dharma, Krishna was always with them.
Okay. Behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. So I had a question from yesterday's class on Bhishma Dev. So it is said that Bhishma Dev was obliged to protect a king by military strength.
Bhishma Dev was supposed to do what?
Obliged to protect the king by military strength.
Yes.
So Duryodhana wasn't crowned king at that time.
That's correct.
Yeah. So
But he assumed the position. He had assumed the position. And Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma, was addressing him, "O king." Not by law. By law, it was Yudhisthira, but by usurping, it was he was the king.
So why did Bhishma Dev go with it? Couldn't he
Yeah, you could do anything. You have a good brain. And Bhishma Dev could say, "Look, Charlie, you're not the king. He's the king. And I said to my father, I'll protect the king, and he's the king. So sorry, Charlie, I'm not going to be your commander-in-chief." So there.
Thank you, Maharaj.
But he didn't. So why didn't he? The answer we heard yesterday, 4 times. Rasa. And then there's sub-reasons. There's another sub-reason. He was maintained by the Kauravas. And you're maintained by someone. You assist to someone you're maintained by. It's a dharmic principle. But ultimately it's rasa. So it can be on the opposite side of Krishna. And give Krishna pleasure. It was just about giving Krishna pleasure. So things were done that were What? Because it was to give Krishna pleasure. That's the trump that superseded everything else. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
You want to say something further? You're done.
I'm done.
Okay. You're enthusiastic. Is it a good question?
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful class. So I have a question from.
Can you speak slowly?
So I have a question from Bhishma Part 1.
Okay.
So when Vasishtha cursed
You don't need a microphone. Your voice is loud. Go ahead.
So when Vasishtha cursed Vasudeva to live for a full life, like wasn't Vasudeva's wife the cause for it?
Yes, but he said yes to her. So the man takes responsibility. If the wife says, jump up a bridge and he jumps up the bridge, he takes responsibility. She can say that he takes responsibility.
But wasn't it her fault?
No, it wasn't. It was his fault. He listened. He listened to Adharma. She may have been a remote cause, but he was the cause. Nice try. Blame it on her, right? Someone else. 2 hands, 3 hands, 4 hands.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the amazing lecture. What's the difference between the spiritual world and the heaven world?
That's a nice question. Do you like Brahma Samhita?
I haven't read it.
You haven't read it.
No.
If I start to say the verse, you'll remember the verse. You can say it with me if you remember the verse. Goloka namni nijadamni taleja tasya Devi mahesho haridama sutesho tesho Te te prabhava vihitasya yena Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. You know the refrain. Govindamadi purusham. So Govinda is the Adi Purusha. He's the original person. And of those original persons, he has a place. Goloka. That's how the verse begins. Goloka namni, known by the name Goloka. Nija damni. It's his Nija Dham. It's his own abode. Taleja tasya. Then he. So that's his place. Then he goes down. Devi Dham. Mahesha Dham, Hari Dham, and above Hari Dham is Goloka Dham. So now your question is, what's the difference between heaven and Hari Dham, or the spiritual world, Goloka Dham or Hari Dham, the spiritual world? And in Devi Dham, there's 14 planetary systems. One of those 14 is Svarga. It's one of the 14. We're on one of the 14 too. Bhu Mandala, Bhuvar Loka, then Swarga Loka. Then above, there's another 4 above. So it's just one of the places in the material universe. Swarga is a attractive place. Lots of people want to go on vacation at that place. So it's Swarga. It's in the material world. And then the spiritual world is far, far beyond. It's in another realm where matter doesn't even touch. The modes of nature don't touch. Karma doesn't touch. It's another realm altogether. That's the difference. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Find that verse and learn the verse. Just say it a few times. It's a real easy one to learn. And then it'll help you. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Nice kirtan, by the way, in the beginning. Very nice.
Are there any specific pastimes of Nakula and Sahadev in the Mahabharata?
Yeah. I'm not a scholar of Mahabharata, but I recall reading some things where Nakula and Sahadev, they're not spoken of so much, and its comment they're not spoken of so much, but they were also very powerful warriors and very virtuous. but I can't remember the details. But if somebody here want to help him find those places, and Buddy Ryan will help him find the places in Mahabharata, and you can read about them. I'm not so familiar, sorry. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for that amazing lecture. I was hearing Srila Prabhupada, he was mentioning the story of Yudhishthir Maharaj. When Krishna told Yudhishthir Maharaj, go and tell Dronacharya that Ashwatthama is dead.
Yeah.
This is a lecture from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then Prabhupada mentioned that Yudhishthir Maharaj could not become Krishna conscious, but Arjuna became Krishna conscious because he heard what Krishna was saying. So I thought that was in that particular context that Prabhupada was saying, but could you reiterate the purport on that?
Well, you did a pretty good job. Yudhishthir was hesitating to tell a lie because it was his thing. It was his dharma to always speak the truth. But when Krishna said, don't speak the truth, speak a lie, he hesitated. Now, Arjuna hesitated twice, at least twice. But when he heard from Krishna, then he did what Krishna said, even it was like difficult for him. That's the distinction. So the main thing, aside from the Leela, is to understand that which comes from Krishna, that there's no karma. It's akarma. Even killing is akarma, lying is akarma, if Krishna directly says. But you can't just make up stuff and say, Krishna told me in a dream to, do something. So I did that something because Krishna told me in a dream. People do like that. Anyway, direct instruction from Krishna, there's no karma. There's no reaction. Good or bad. Not even good. Just no good or bad. No reaction. Akarma. Okay. Does that cover all the hands up in the air? Okay. Last question. They were ready for the deities to come.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. From today's class, we saw Arjuna went to the celestial regions to get those weapons.
Yes, he did. How did he get there?
Yeah, how did he get there?
How do you go to the celestial region? There's power, and he had the power. Now, from where did he get the power? From Krishna. Where does everything come from? So he didn't just like giddy up, let's go to the heavenly region and have some fun. It was prophesied that he would do, and Krishna gave him the power to do when it was the right time to do, because the war was going. It wasn't for any other reason than the service to Krishna. The war was going to begin. He was to get celestial weapons. He had the power to go there. Now, exactly how that happened, there's no explanation that I'm aware of. There may be some explanation, but the power came from Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So whoever's going to have kirtan, here's a nice microphone. I think we need to clear a space here in the front where the deities are. The table might need to come out a little bit.
Okay.
You're doing it. I know. Yeah, he's straight into it, right? Yes. You violated. Keep. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Krishna Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatnyade Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Take this table out of here. Yep. Take the table. Okay. Yeah. Out of here.
Kimba Jayo Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Koshoba Kimba Jayo Gaura Chande Arati Koshoba Dana Bitabane Jagaman Loba Jagaman Loba Dakine Nitai Chan Pamegadada Nikate Advaita Srini Pasa Chatranada Bosi Ache Gaurachan Ratna Simhasad Bosi Arati ko dena Brahma Adi
devagane Hari Adi Kori Chamara Dulaya Chamara Dulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Oh Charigaya Charigaya Shanka baje Ganta baje Baje karatala Shanka Baje karathala Madura mridanga baje Paramarasala Shanka baje Ganta baje Madur 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 baje Shanka baje Ganta baje Madur 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 baje Shanka Madur 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 baje Madur 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 baje Shanka baje Ganta baje Madur 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 baje Shanka baje Ganta baje Madur 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 baje Madur 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 baje Madur 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 baje Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Bahur Koti Chandrajini Vadana Ujwala Kalare se bana mala Kore jala mala Kore jala mala Shiva Sukha Narada Preme Gada Gada Shiva Pakati Vinoda Deke Gaurarasam Pandava Gaurangera Roti Shobha Jagadanamana Lopa Gaurangera Roti Shobha Jagadanamana Lopa Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Patyatyade Chatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Srila Guru Deva. Guru Deva, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Nitai Petita Pavana Gaura Hari Ki Gaur Pimanandi. Nitai Patita Pavana Gaurahari Ki Jai. So now it's time for Prasadam. This is my last box of Mahaprasadam. And I'm going to go home with an empty box, one way or the other.
Nagendra Parlaram Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, thank you for your presence and welcoming our deities. Coincidentally, it's also Nitai Gaurasundar deity anniversary.